everyone, and welcome on in to another episode of Streamer Talk with Jackward. I'm the Jack. That's the Ward, and we still have no clue what we're doing here. And if you're back, well, congratulations, you made it through another week of our shenanigans.
That means you have watched at least 3 hours of us. Are you sure that you're okay?
Maybe they listen to us. Maybe we're tolerable if you're just listening to us.
That's fair. I mean,
I don't know.
I have been told I have a face for radio.
Huh. Who told you that? Your mom?
And dad.
My dad can't tell me that because he lives in a little urn on a shelf in my living room.
Wow, going with the dead dad jokes on the third podcast.
Listen, somehow you gotta cope with life, and mine's just with bad humor.
On today's podcast, we're going to be talking about picking your niche. So as experienced streamers as us, we're going to let you go through kind of what is a niche, how do you go about doing it, and what was our path in going there too.
How do you go about doing it, Jackward? We're not that type of podcast.
Whoop. Recentering the camera was the best idea before stream.
Oh, I don't even know if mine will zoom. Oh, it does.
Hey, I thought we weren't that kind of podcast. See, this is what happens when you don't watch the YouTube video, is that you don't get to see these kind of shenanigans.
This is why they love us.
Ain't nobody want to see that.
So, picking your niche. When we start talking about picking your niche, we're talking about the different types of categories that can center around your channel. And this doesn't just include games. It can include many other things in life. It really could be whatever you want it to be. Well, we're going to give you some examples because why not?
I mean, we have an hour and a half to fill, so.
Yeah. That's pretty much why. Also,
with the niches, we kind of broke this down into a few different parts. One of the parts is the game category. So there are lots of different games out there, and obviously you have a variety of things you can choose from. There's some people who specialize in one particular game, where there's more people will kind of specialize in a different type of game. Okay. So we've narrowed it down to about 8 categories of different games. Puzzlers, action and adventure, simulation and sports, RPG, the MOBA, the multi-online battle arena, for those who are not familiar, shooters, real-time strategy, and sandbox. And I know what you're thinking, like, oh, but this game is really 2 of these categories. And yeah, there's no perfect category to encapsulate every kind of game, right? But these are these generic categories that things can fall into one or the other. And then as a streamer, you obviously can have that freedom to jump between different genres as well.
And I'm glad Jackward explained because I had no clue what MOBA was. When he said that, I was like, huh? What? Who? Sure. That sounds great. If that's what you want to talk about, great.
I mean, I don't. I'm not a big fan. And a lot of them are very, very toxic environments, if you ask me. League of Legends, I think, is the most known MOBA, but there's a Pokemon one. There's so many of them where they're just these small little arena piece games, but they are their own category because they're not that. And like Jackie was like, oh, so like Fortnite, and Fortnite could fall in there. It could fall under shooters. Depending on which ones you're doing, it could also fall under sandbox. So that's just an example right there. Is like it can hop around in different areas. So Jackie, what kind of area do you like to kind of as a streamer?
So I feel like I've done a lot of these in my year of streaming. But as we are kind of coming into my second season of my second era, we're going on the Jackie K Plays Eras tour, everyone. Just hop on and ride along. Um
Ooh.
we're in the season of cows. And so really for this season, we're going to be focusing on like the puzzlers and sandbox. They're kind of together. They're not really just one. But we also kind of came up with some more familiar sub niches within these games, within these like big 8 categories, that y'all will be a little bit more familiar with, that I think we'll reference a little bit more. And I typically stick around the 4 sub niches that we kind of came up with were cozy, competitive, horror, and builders. And I typically tend to stay in more of the cozy arc of life. If it's got farming sim, if it's got cute animals, if it's got decorating, if it's got cute NPCs, your girl here is going to find it and probably be playing it at least for a little while. Jackward has had a wider experience and is, I feel, still in a wider category. So
What's
why
more
don't you
awkward?
why don't you talk on your experiences about that?
I would say, see, so part of me is I really love just the art of gaming as a whole. Like as an artist, I really appreciate it. As a, an educator, there's lots of perks to all of it. And on top of that, just growing up in an era when video games were still really being defined. So there's
Mm-hmm.
so many different things. I really love a good RPG, but give me a good action adventure with story, and I'm all for it. If you want to simulate, build in a simulation and have me do city skylines, absolutely, all for it. Um, MOBAs, I'm not as big on, but real time strategy, puzzlers, sandbox, yeah, pretty much 6 of these 8 categories I stream pretty regularly. Like I'll hop between them, but it's pretty there. But one struggle that I always find is that because I can't find a specific genre, I have a hard time finding a specific audience. People
Mm-hmm.
come, I'll do a Minecraft stream and I'll have 7 or 8 people watching, and then I'll do a Fortnite stream and it'll be 15 or 16, and then I'll do a new game Friday and bring in a whole new genre and it's 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when I was starting out as a streamer, it was even a lot harder because you didn't have your built-in I'm going to join because I like Jackward people. And so you're hopping between all these things, and some people come in and are like, hey, you played this one game this one time. Why don't you play it more? Well, it was only supposed to be a one-time thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's I think that's what's important, is at least if you're choosing a genre, whether it's a game genre or more of these sub niches that we are talking about, cozy, competitive, horror, builders, that really makes a huge difference for you and your audience. Because
Mm-hmm.
if I'm just going to play a bunch of random games, I really need to have that sub genre. And so
Yep.
that's where I kind of fall in, is more I like more of the cozy kind of environment because it's casual. It's not ultra competitive. Can I fall into that competitive aspect? Yeah, you guys kind of saw that during the Fortnite charity event with the team, with Team
Mm-hmm.
Cord. Is there were times where I was, all right, guys, we gotta do this. Like, and that's being a former athlete and all that. Yeah, there's definitely a competitive side to me as an
Mm-hmm.
esports coach, and all those other things. But um, if you ask me to play a horror game, it's horror
Horror.
game. I'm gonna be like, pass.
Yeah. And I feel like though too, as much as like, so you're like, well, it's hard to bring in people because I want to play like this. Like I played this one game this one time, and and people aren't coming back just for Ackward. I feel like though that happens so often, even as someone who has a general niche that I stick to, like every game I play, for the most part, falls in that cozy genre. Listen, we're not talking about Fortnite Fridays. Those are that's the release the rage night. Um, but it's one of those things that I think with a lot of cozy games, you get a cult following for a lot of these games. And it sometimes does make it very hard in the sense that, like, I play Animal Crossing once, I get 5, 6, 7, 8 followers from it, and then those people never show up again because I might not play Animal Crossing again for a week or two because there is so many other cozy games. And they're like, "Oh, when are you going to do Animal Crossing?" And it's like, Animal Crossing is one of those games to get very easily burnt out on because there's not a lot to do in it. So, yeah. It's also been out for
Especially
4
since it's
years.
like compared to like Stardew, which is still doing updates, and DDV that's still doing updates, and all these other games that are still doing updates, and they're like, we're getting ready for the next game, so we're
Mhm.
kind of moving on.
Mhm.
And
And that's definitely, yeah, that's definitely a big thing with that. Is people are ready for the next thing. They're always looking for the next thing. So, Animal Crossing being 4 years old, I'm looking for something else, man. Like I want something that is consistently being updated. I don't want to play a game that it's not necessarily dead because I guarantee if I was to go look at the actually let's do something for scientific purposes while we're here.
okay.
The Animal Crossing New Horizons category on Twitch currently still has 902 viewers 4 years after this game has come out,
Mm-hmm.
which is slightly crazy.
It is. That's
That's
absolutely
that's
crazy.
that's a big number for 4 years later. Um so it still has its cult following, and it's one of those things though that again there's not a lot left to do in the game. So it's hard because people want you to people expect a certain level of, yeah, I don't know how to explain that.
And I
They're
mean, there are people who do it. There we know several streamers who they get on 5 days a week, and they go in and they have probably 12 switches, and they will play Animal Crossing every single day for 5 6 hours. I don't know. I mean, there's one that comes to mind. They've done it every day for months that I know of, and now I've only seen them recently start to switch in Stardew and a few other the cozy games, because again, Animal Crossing's been pretty clear. We're kind of done with this now. We're kind of shifting gears. And Nintendo, and they can do that. They went 4 years. It was also a game that was a lot of people weren't expecting to go as big as it did, even though it
mhm.
has a cult following. But because the pandemic hit, as it was being released, a lot of people had time to get into it and time to get familiar with that.
Mhm.
And so that is, I think, also one aspect of that. But we see this with Stardew Valley. Yes, it's done updates ever since, but it really has a cult following where you have people come in and be like, "Oh, you played Stardew. This is how we found you." Jackie can talk on that a little bit.
Yeah, so I actually received an email from a company saying, "Hey, wanted to reach out. They were a charity. They were a charity like corporation. And they were like, "Hey, we found you through Stardew and then we found your media kit and we really like you and we want you to do a charity stream for us." I've played two, two, exactly two Stardew streams on my channel. Uh, don't know how you saw me in one of those two streams, but here we are. But Stardew is again a game that has a cult following, and concerned concerned ape Yes, that's who makes Stardew. I'm correct about that, right?
I'm gonna
I
say
don't I don't
yes. I
need
don't
this.
know off the top of my head.
I don't need the Stardewans yelling at me. Um, but he's done a great job keeping updates coming and what have you. But I feel like the problem with the cozy gaming realm, and we'll kind of dive into the other niches a little bit here with the cozy gaming realm, is people are always looking for the next Stardew. They're looking for the next game that years later is still going to hold as strong as Stardew Valley. And that's just not happening. They're like, there's games out there that have potential for it, but there's never going to be the next Stardew or the next Animal Crossing or whatever that may be.
And that's, I think, a huge thing to talk about with like game reviews and other things is people make the mistake constantly to compare games with one another, and that's such a huge it's a huge issue when you're trying to do these kind of things.
I mean, and I even do it myself though. Like last night I was playing Disney Dreamlight Valley, and of course the easiest game to reference is Palia. Disney Dreamlight Valley and Palia have very similar aspects, but they're also vastly different. Like as far as like creation and decorating, very very similar. Just one is run by Disney and you've got a bunch of Disney characters and one's not. Like it's fairly easy to compare the two, and I feel like it happens a lot with a lot of games. I mean, I haven't really I mean, it happens in the competitive games, Fortnite and Apex. I feel like they get compared to each other all the time.
There's actually,
Like,
I have a clip where I talk about Apex, Fortnite, and one other game, and just say they're basically all the same game. And
mhm,
it's such a very common thing, but um, when you're looking for that next game, you're always going to be disappointed because it's never going to be the same one. What's going to be that next game that's really big is something that's not Stardew. It's
mhm,
not Animal Crossing. It's its own thing because we don't call Stardew Valley the farming simulator for Animal Crossing, right? We don't. It's its own thing, right? There's a lot of people who call
mhm,
like a roguelike or I can't think of the other big one. Elden Ring style games, right? Where we Dark Souls like game, like there are games that will define a genre, sure,
mhm,
but you'll notice that none of those made those game category lists because they actually fall into other categories, and yeah, the level of difficulty is just higher.
mhm.
And in some cases, level of difficulty is easier. And that's I think a big part of it is when you start to decide these things, whether it's the niche or the sub niche, right? You're trying to define what people are experiencing when they walk in.
Yeah. There was actually kind of taking it back into the cozy realm. There was actually a little bit of controversy in the cozy realm because there was a new game coming out that was almost an exact copy. It was literally almost an exact copy of Stardew Valley. It was Stardew Valley, but you own a zoo. Um, and Concerned Ape actually came out and made a statement about it. Um, because the game looked so similar. And he had come out and said, I do think it looks a little his exact quote was, I do think Super Zoo's story has taken it a little too far. Um I think they should take their time and come up with their own style. And he would not be okay with ripped art, even in the event that it's copied. But if you are a gamer that enjoys games like that, I encourage you to go look this up, because Super Zoo Story is still attempting to come out. They do have a Kickstarter going about it, but I would look into it, um, because it does look almost exactly like Stardew Valley, which is insane to me.
And I think that's speaking as an artist, at least that's one of the frustrating things is like there's all these different people who are trying to set their own brand, set their own look, and they're trying to be original, and then you have all the duplicates. And
Mm-hmm.
am I guilty of playing some of those duplicate games because I enjoy them? But we see lawsuits and stuff on this as well, like with the whole Pal World Pokemon kind of debate and argument. And what is that going to do to the gaming industry as a whole anyway? Like, is it going
Mm-hmm.
to start to get mechanics of games starting to be copyright under copyright infringement and stuff like that? And then are we going to limit new creations of games? And I think it's a kind of a slippery slope at that point. But
Oh, absolutely. I believe don't quote me, but I do believe there's a Pokemon like mod or upgrade for trading card shop simulator now.
there is, and they imported the actual Pokemon cards, the card like the physical ones you get
Mm-hmm.
from that, and the art styles. And honestly, while I understand it's a mod and it's not the TCG card shop simulator's fault,
Mm-hmm.
it's not their fault at all. That mod is inhibiting on the Pokemon company's copyright. And so for me, to me that's a huge issue as an artist, someone who's dealt with people stealing his work
Mm-hmm.
and all that. But I get, like, at the same time I can look at it and be like, well, if they're not profiting off this mod, I don't necessarily know it's necessarily as big a deal compared to some of the, like you said earlier, those games that start to mimic the styles or artistic impressions, or even just takes those actual sprites of the characters. There's been games sold out that steal all the sprites,
Mm-hmm.
which are the little characters and objects and stuff, and steal that artwork. So,
Yeah,
I mean, we totally we went a little bit into a roundabout discussion there, but I think
that's
it's a
okay.
big part of it. It's an important conversation to talk about too, because if you're just looking for that next game that looks like it or feels like it, you might find yourself in trouble. Who knows? Maybe they come after the streamers eventually. You can never be too cautious.
And that's the thing. And I feel like though too, the other part is that a lot of these games try to recruit bigger streamers to have them in their games to be like, oh, we're gonna put you in this game if you help us with whatever. And you have to watch out for yourself and protect yourself when it comes to those things, because it's gonna come back on you. That game company is not gonna no longer care about you when they get sued.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this in the first episode when you're like setting your name, coming up with your name, coming up with all this, your brand. Um, you have to be mindful of that. If you start becoming the face of a game, and then that game gets sued,
Mm-hmm.
guess who's everyone's going to be looking at as well? Like, you become now the face of that. And so it's a really tricky thing, because you want to be, that's like one of the big goals there, is like you're the streamer who streams this game, and everyone comes to that, right? You
Mm-hmm.
have Jinxie with Rainbow Six, and different competitive players with different games. Going into that, though, if you're not careful, you become the face of a game that then is sued, and then you get held leaving the bag. You could be sued as well if you knew it, or there's lots of different liability issues. So you got to be
Mm-hmm.
careful with that too.
And as much as we just talked about that in a roundabout way, it kind of does bring us back to our topic, because I feel like we're talking about all of these games as like a very big like thing, and we're like, oh, there's XYZ game within these niches. And it's one of those things that I do want to say it is okay if you, and this is going to be a controversial opinion, and Ackward might not even agree with me. It is okay to just main one singular game within one of these niches and one of these sub niches. And I know there's some people out there that don't agree. But I definitely think it's becoming more popular to gain a following using one category and then branch off into the other ones. And or like one game and go into a different one.
And I've seen this done with some streamers. There's one I can think of, Twigbot. She started out, she was just playing the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and then she went into
Mm-hmm.
Tears of the Kingdom. And that's really how she got started. She really got popular with it. But the reality was is that she wanted to be a horror streamer.
Yep.
Horror. And so that
Horror.
was such a huge, she had this huge like shift in everything. And
Mm-hmm.
um then when she was in the horror genre, she found that no, I want to really just play this variety. And so she had to reinvent herself almost 3 different times. So it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just it can be really sometimes a struggle. I know one of the things that helps her increase, because I was part of her community for so long,
Mm-hmm.
was she started playing the game Granny and played
Yep.
the game Granny over and over and over again. But Granny and a lot of horror games. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure I enunciate it. That's why I'm doing it,
You
guys.
gotta enunciate that word.
Um, she wanted to get into that, but a lot of horror games, they are short. They're
Mm-hmm.
small. So in a stream, if you're streaming for 8 hours, you're gonna play 20, 30 rounds of that game. It's gonna get tiresome. And that
Oh,
was what she was kind
absolutely.
of starting with in there, was that she loved it, but she was also getting tired of playing the same old game over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. I feel like it it doesn't not come with that caveat. Because if you start playing, and I'm gonna speak from experience here, and this is something I have not even announced to my community yet, minus Ackward because he's my mod. Um, but on the Jackie K Plays channel, we are actually starting that route. Um, so I feel like my first year was kind of about self discovery for myself personally as a streamer and who I wanted to be. And now that we've kind of gotten to we've gotten through the first year, I feel very confident behind the mic and streaming and doing all of that. Um, I've decided that I do want to focus in on one game, and I've decided that that is going to be Disney Dreamlight Valley. Um, and if you know anything about me and Disney Dreamlight Valley, we've had a love-hate relationship for a very long time. But I've chosen that game in the sense that there is a lot of content. Disney has already expressed a lot of content coming to that game over the next year. Um, and there's a lot of content within that game. There's a lot of opportunities within that game. Um, so I'm looking forward to it. And I'm excited to see how it goes. Um, and this is why a second channel is important.
And you know what? I'm actually really excited about it too, because that means I don't have to play the game and I can just learn about all this stuff. Because
There you go.
I don't have the patience for that game, but I do have the patience when you play. So
You do, and I know the whole Ackward fam likes that game, so I'm excited to play it because I've been playing it for so long that I feel like I have so much knowledge to share with everyone about that game. That it'll be a good thing.
yeah,
I'm
and
excited.
I don't think there's anything wrong with specializing in a game, because you can also, when someone really knows a game, especially a game. Let's take an example, a really extreme example like Minecraft. There
Mhm.
is so much into Minecraft. And I'm no expert when it comes to Minecraft. There's different approaches to the whole game, right? There's the people who strategize about completing the game, getting it done okay, going from one stick to Ender Dragon in 6 hours, right?
Mhm.
There's the people who do the farming simulators, or I'm gonna see how many I'm going to challenge myself to this, that, or something else to do in 100 days. There's those content creators. There's so many different ways you can approach a single game. And so
Absolutely.
that's what's really nice about it, right? You've done this with Animal Crossing, right? You've done your
Mhm.
challenges where you have Animal Crossing. We're gonna try and get the whole family of dogs on the island,
Mhm.
or meet this certain piece, or do another streamer's challenge. You've done aesthetic challenges where we're gonna make the island this way or that way. We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna and you've even done the exploration type where you're just going to other people's islands and just talking about aesthetics so you can build your own aesthetic. There's no
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the cool part about these sub niches is that you're not locked into a game and playing it in a particular way. I think
Yeah.
one piece of advice that both of us got uh, early into our collaboration was think of the type of streamer you want to be, and
Mm-hmm.
then how does that look in this genre, in whatever games you play? And then how does
Mm-hmm.
it look in other games? And how
Yep.
can you then connect those two pieces,
Yeah.
right? And for me, because I like to do a lot of strategy, real time strategy, sandbox games, that's really where I'm happy and can spend hours on. Um, that's such a fun aspect is to think, okay, how do I turn this into a battle royale? How do I turn this into a Moab or so, thinking of different ways to go in about it.
The funny thing is that you're like, I love sandbox games. I actually think if you just ignored all of the questing in Disney Dreamlight Valley, you would actually love it because the decorating in that game is so endless and vast. Like if you take away all the Disney characters, if you take away all the quest lines in that game, it is a huge sandbox game. There is so much you can do, and they're adding more.
Well, and I have sunk, I think, because right when it came out, I was like, yes, I'm doing this. I love Disney. I did the same thing with their race car one when they released that. I spent
Yep.
down 60-80 bucks on that. But it's getting the founders passes and stuff like that. Um because it's Disney. I do love Disney, and I think I have like 30-40 hours on that game. It's not that I have an issue with the game. It's just more of a I really don't like you have to grind certain quests to move on and stuff like that. I really like the freedom that most sandboxes offer. Um
Mhm.
and so I do love the game, but I just don't like the grindiness of it. It's why I get tired of Fortnite every now and then too, because you really just have to at some point you just start grinding to get the gear for the battle passes.
Oh, absolutely. I feel that completely. The grindiness, and that's why I feel like I've taken a break from DDV and from like Palea and all that because I get so overwhelmed with all the quests. It's a lot. It
Yeah, that's my issue
happens.
with Fallout 2 is like Fallout 4. I'll start building a civilization and I'll spend 40-50 hours building the civilization, and then I get to a point where like, oh no, I have to get this item, so I have to go all the way down, and oh, there's 45 other quests, and I feel like that sometimes I have an ADHD moment and I just want to
Yeah.
do every sub quest and never actually do the storyline.
I am excited to get back into doing like, can I finish the star path in 24 hours or 48 hours? Can we do it?
Yeah, I mean those are fun. That's what again. I think that's a really good part of even when you choose a niche,
Mhm.
you can still make it into a competitive thing. You can still right. I think you and I talked about one time doing like Sims 4, and we were gonna like get something done. Who can get to graduate college first or something like that. We had
Uh-huh.
talked about doing something like that. And it's like that's not a competitive game. That's not a
No.
competitive game. But we were trying to make it competitive, and that was kind of fun.
Unless you're awkward and like to light me on fire when I'm trying to cook in the game.
Hey, you shouldn't use crowd control if you don't want to light things on fire.
Um, but I do feel like we have rambled for a little bit about the game genres and the game categories and the game niches. But there is more to niches than just games. If you look at the vast world of Twitch, if you look at the vast world of YouTube, there is so much more to both of those than just even on TikTok now. TikTok has become the QVC of 2024. Uh it's true. Have you not seen a lady sitting in the middle of your screen with a big old bucket of Crystal's telling you to buy a scoop and she'll scoop it on stream for you.
I love that one. Oh, is that the one where they put in the sand buckets and then the kids can dig them
Yeah.
out? Yeah. I've always wanted to get Declan's buckets. That's I think what they're called.
That, or there's like all of like the makeup artists on there selling their products live. Like it's legitimately QVC for the modern age.
Yeah. No, it absolutely is. That's why I was laughing about it. It's like, yeah, it is QVC. And you know what? The other platforms are following.
Mm-hmm. But if you look at all of these platforms and kind of what they have in common is they broad horizon out sort of games. I feel like 5, 10 years ago, all you ever heard was people playing games. When they said I'm a streamer, I'm a content creator, it was just them playing games. And now it has become so much. You see people do IRL streams where they're cooking, they're knitting, they're going for walks outside. Like I saw one this morning, dude was in Alaska going for a walk.
Cold.
Yeah, the snow was on the ground. There's a whole category for Lego building now. There's a whole category for co-working now. Co-working has become such a huge thing,
It's actually a
and that's
creator
like its
club
own.
now. I'm actually a part of that
Yeah.
creator club, co-working, and it's still growing. And Twitch, and all these
Mhm.
other platforms have even said we're still looking at these. So
Yeah.
many people are doing cooking streams now, where they're making something delicious and talking to their thing. They're basically having their own cooking show. Um,
Yeah.
my wife, like I said, has been doing Lego building, and that's now like the thing she enjoys doing. I think it's just she wants an excuse for Legos. I've got I've got friends who are knitting and
Mhm.
crocheting, and they've just been doing it for years, and they just knit. Hey, I'm gonna start doing it on stream.
And I feel like too we've seen so many creators too that main games, but I also feel like there's something to be said when you see a creator who mostly plays games that steps outside of that comfort zone and does a little bit of IRL streaming, whether it's cooking or they're in their house doing something and they're like, "Listen, we're just going to do an IRL stream today." And I think people like seeing that real aspect, that real side of people because there is so much on the internet that is false and falsified nowadays that I feel like people love seeing that like that real aspect of like, hey, we're gonna go for a walk today and like actually see someone out in the world doing something. Or we're gonna cook and guess what? My kitchen doesn't look amazing. That's okay. Like it's just that sense of getting something real on the internet is what a lot of people are looking for.
And I think that goes into a whole nother aspect of it is once you like find your niche, once you find these pieces that you want to do, and you start going into, even if you start shifting niches like Jackie and I have talked about, right? There's also this aspect of how do I how do I continue? How do I do this? And I think that's where it comes into you start networking with the other people who are doing this. I mentioned
Hmm.
creator clubs, and that's kind of what Twitch has started to create was these discords with like-minded streamers or
Hmm.
similar streamers who are encountering similar problems because they're streaming the same things.
Yeah.
And it started with the DJ club, and then they expanded it more this after TwitchCon. Um, now they have the coding, they have the co-working, they have the artists
Hmm.
and makers, they have a few more I know that are coming out soon. They've talked about just kind of and creating their own spaces, so that people can collaborate. And it's such a fascinating thing. Like when you think a co-working stream, you probably don't think about, well, how can I add productivity tools for my viewer? But that is
Yeah.
such a huge part to the co-working setup, and there's so many apps and so many things, and that can also be a great way to just start networking with other streamers who fit the similar genres or similar niches and sub niches,
Mm-hmm.
because it also gives you ideas. That's actually one reason why Jackie and I, work together, is that we are very similar in content, but we take different approaches to it, and we do different games in that way.
I actually, and this is something I don't think I've ever mentioned to really anyone. I'm actually part of a group on Discord called Glow, which stands for the Gaming League of Women. And it's literally just a group of women that are content creators. There's other ones that are not content creators themselves. We all share our work together. We share, like different things about, because being a woman on the internet is scary. So there's, safety tips, there's events that they talk about. Like they just did one today about, they hosted a workshop on media kits and how to elevate your media/brand kits. They did like a whole live event for that, and it's a great thing to be a part of, and you can submit things for feedback for people. And I think it's something that's not talked about a lot. I feel like those types of things. I kind of just stumbled upon it on X one day. And I was like, this is kind of great. Like I love that there's a whole group of women supporting each other on the internet to do what they want to do and be out here in the games. And it I think originally was based in women inside of like typically men driven games like Fortnite and Apex and stuff like that. But it's expanded so much because everyone just kind of plays everything on the internet now.
And there's also these kind of groups. For at least me, I'm in I realize I probably haven't said anything about this ever either, but through someone that I met through another thing, they added me to like the Central Texas creators
Mm-hmm.
forum, and so it's talking about, hey, how can we collaborate IRL? How can we support each other in an area where maybe you're in the middle of nowhere? Because if you don't know, as Texas is kind of its own country in
Mm-hmm.
size wise. In fact, France I think can fit in it twice, so it's like twice the size of France. Just to give our European friends an understanding of the size of Texas. And because it's so large, how do you connect with people if you're thousands of miles away? Obviously, Jackie
Yeah.
and I do it really well, but not everyone can do that.
Yeah. I feel like that's something I really should look into because I feel like there's not a lot of East Coast streamers that I know. Like I don't hear about a lot of East Coast streamers.
Yeah, I can only think of a
And
handful.
yeah, I would love to know if there's more.
I like most of the streamers that you and I know. They're mostly West Coast. Yeah, I was gonna
And
say.
I'm talking like Northeast New England. I'm not talking like, because I know there's quite a few in like North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. I'm talking like Connecticut, New York, like that general
That
area.
northern northeast kind of area.
Yeah.
New
Yeah.
England plus.
Yeah. Desert Rose.
Yeah, I was. That's the only person actually that came to mind was Desert Rose, and she's in the
um,
chat.
I was thinking about, there's a girl I watch in the mornings. Her name is Krista. She's actually on Long Island. Then Ten Talk from YouTube. He's in Connecticut. Peyton's Corner here on Twitch and YouTube is in New York City. I've got a couple.
Yeah.
Got a couple.
Um, I mean, Techno and I are both central as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Atomic
is
Bot.
Dom and Atomic Bot. Um, and so, but it's all that's a whole different logistical problem. Like sometimes, usually every time Jackie and I are getting ready to do streamer talk or our collaborations on Fridays, it's like, okay, are we meeting 6 o'clock Eastern or 6 o'clock Central? And so I'll always be sure to like either she'll put ET or I'll put ET so that we're just on that same
Mm-hmm.
page there. And but it's really hard when you're in different time zones. And like the other day when I was collaborating with Pad Bay and GC, they're on the West Coast, and so I had to like completely convert all their times and whatnot because they were
Mm-hmm.
putting Pacific. and it's like 9 o'clock Pacific. Oh, great, that's lunchtime for me. So
Mhm.
that's okay. Let's figure this out. What is this? How does this look for me and mine? And so
And
that's another huge
yeah,
aspect.
yeah, and it's one of those things that, because collaboration is a big thing within all of these niches, that you're like, okay, well, I'm trying to do a collaboration. But like, and for you and I, it being an hour difference isn't really that bad. Um, but the West Coast is 3 hours behind me. Like, most of them are still at work right now. They haven't had their dinner, and I'm like, oh, good, I get to go to bed here in an hour. Like,
Well, and
it's hard to do
that's a
collabs that
huge
way.
thing too. Is like a lot of West Coast streamers, they'll work with Australian people, like because they're roughly in that same piece. But I'm usually going to bed. It's like midnight, 1 o'clock when some of my mutuals are starting streaming, and
Mm-hmm.
you want to support them, you want to be there for them, but you have to find people also in the right time zone. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's also those areas like Arizona. I
Mm-hmm.
remember I'm so used to converting my time because they don't do daylight savings. So
Yep.
in the winter, it's 1 hour difference from Central, and in the summer, they're on Pacific time. So
Yeah.
that's a whole different aspect too. It's kind of crazy. So you have to kind of find people not only just in your genre, but kind of in your area too. Not like they don't have to
Mm-hmm.
be your next door neighbor, but they do need to be roughly close to the time. Like Jackie said, an hour is not a big difference because, yeah, I might be eating dinner on stream while we're starting, but for the most part, we're in that same kind of mindset. Minus my insomnia, and I can stay up till 3 a.m. and still operate. But that's a
Yeah.
whole different story.
I mean, and it's like the same veil of like the like West Coast streamers though. When I get up at 7 a.m., it's only 4 a.m. for them. Like, I'm up at 7 a.m. and it's nice because I've got one specific follower in mind who it's 5 p.m. for him. Because I believe, I don't quote me. He's like he's somewhere over in Europe,
I
and
was
it's
gonna
like
say that'd be
5
Great
p.m.
Britain or France.
No, it's
Great
like,
Britain's 6 hours from
I
where I
want to say
am.
Dutch, but that's not a country. Uh,
Netherlands,
geographies. Yeah, I think that's where he
Netherlands.
is. I believe so. Believe so. And it's like 5 p.m. for him when I'm up. And it's nice because he's like, I can get ready to go do what I need to do. But then like my night streams are like 1 a.m. So I get a little bit more of my European friends on a Saturday morning and a Sunday morning than I do when I do my streams at night.
And that's a whole thing aspect. There's a reason why on Saturdays I'll sometimes do the really late night stream, because then I'm getting in my Australian friends and
Mhm.
and collaborators, um,
Mhm.
and there's quite a few of them. I didn't realize how many Australians I knew streaming, but
Yeah.
and so you gotta that's part of this whole thing too, is like that's how you set your schedule, that's how you set all these things,
Yep.
and it can help define, not just define what you play, but how you play, why you play, all those big things that are important to your brand.
Mhm. That's why I'm jealous that people get to stream during like the daytime, because I feel like that's like it's a great time
Well,
on like a normal weekday.
yeah, I would love if I could do weekdays and start at like midnight and go to like 7 or 8 a.m. That would be like my ideal schedule.
Sir, that's not daytime.
That's morning,
That's late night.
late night to early morning.
No. I feel like though it's one of those things that like I have considered it. So like Krista that I was mentioning earlier, she actually does 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. And I'm like, you know, That sounds that's actually kind of sounds nice.
Yeah,
But
I
then I
mean, the early morning, like when you do your Saturdays and Sundays, um,
mhm.
and this goes to that time difference thing too. I always laugh because it was Sunday. You were like, "Oh yeah, I'm going live in the morning," and I didn't. I woke up pretty early, and you were already off, and I was like, "No, I missed it."
It's because I only did 2 hours. That's why I had to go
But it
grocery
was just
shopping.
funny. It was like 8:30, and you were already done. And I'm like, but yeah, those early morning streams. Actually, I just find them so refreshing. If I wasn't so
No,
tired as a teacher,
it
I would
is.
do them.
No, I get you. You reminded me of something when you said that I wasn't on because last weekend I did a short stream on Sunday because I was going out grocery shopping and hanging out with my mom and my grandma and Nana Jackie K turns 80 tomorrow. So
Mazel
I gotta
tov.
text her.
That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. She gonna be 80 tomorrow. Good for her.
That's awesome. None of my grandparents made it to 80, so
She is the only grandparent myself and Mr. Jackie have left. So they're both my mom and my grandma are coming over and we're gonna have Chinese food and hang out tomorrow night before we play before you and I attempt our our
co-op
Subnautica
Subnautica.
cycle.
By the time this
Uh-huh.
comes out though, they'll have known how that went.
Guys, tell us in the comments down below how'd it go. Did we do good? Did it go well? Or was it terrible? It could have been bad. It could have been real bad.
It's gonna go. It's gonna happen.
For those that don't know, we are playing Subnautica tomorrow night. It is not a co-op game, but your girl here has played it before. Jackward has not. And I'm gonna try and walk him through it while I play and while he plays.
So we're co-oping it, but it's not a co-op.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then you can play too. Yeah, apparently
Yeah.
Subnautica 2 does have co-op in it though. That I did find out.
It is gonna be. I'm gonna be doing it on my second channel. I'm giving myself a shout out
Go
in
for
your
it.
own chat.
You are a
Um,
mod for this reason.
but
Desert Rose,
I'm
if
gonna
you
be
want to
doing it
give
on
yourself one
my
too, go for it.
I'm gonna be doing it on my second channel. So if you want to see it from my perspective, be sure to follow my second channel. If not, I think Jackward and I are gonna have. He has some multi-stream thing. I don't know.
I do.
I don't know. He has some multi-stream thing that he's gonna pull up so that you
Oh,
can
the
see
thing.
both
Okay, the
perspectives.
link. Oh, I have to fix that
Yeah,
for because it's the
whatever
wrong
that
channel.
is.
Follow me. I
Whatever
play
that is.
games. I meant you could do the shout out command. Desert Rose.
I don't think it'll let me. I don't think it'll let me do it
I can do it.
because I.
Oh, it might not let me either though. I don't think Desert Rose
Nope.
realized. No, it's on a cooldown for another minute.
How dare!
How
How
I
dare!
don't think Desert Rose realized that she's a mod right now because I never took her off mod.
um. But yeah, so we're gonna be attempting that. Um. But all this to say, and again, me doing this on my second channel tomorrow is one of those things that it's legitimately what we were just talking about. It doesn't fit within the niche that I'm going for on my main channel. So I'm going to separate that and stick it on the second channel. And that is okay because guess what? I still love that game. I still love those games, even if they are not for the main channel.
And that's another huge thing of it. I think this I don't think we can say this enough. Not every game you love is going to be a game you stream.
I
I
don't think we've said it.
love Borderlands. I love so many other games that are just not my vibes. And that's kind of the thing is like I could absolutely stream those.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't really fit who I am as Jackward Hero. So then
And
I have to get another sign.
I feel like though too, it's not even just like they don't fit with your niche, but they might not just be good stream games. I played a game when I was at Tuesday. I had to think of what day of the week it was. I played My Sims and My Sims Kingdom on Tuesday night on stream. Those games were not made for stream. They're great if I'm sitting in my bed and having a potato day and like I can just putz around as I wish. But not all games were created equal and were not meant to be streamed. Keep
It's
that in
true,
mind.
and it's just the more you play a game that isn't meant to be streamed, the harder you work, and the more frustrated you get, and and that's why I was kind of laughing was, um, Jackie was so frustrated. You could see she was frustrated with the game and how she had to keep pressing the buttons and it wasn't being cooperative. And she's getting frustrated just me saying these things. And
Stupid game.
it affects your whole audience. My kids ate it up. They thought it was hilarious, because they're 6 and 9. But
Yeah.
but for your normal audience, it's not fun anymore. It's not fun.
And I feel like this kind of leads us into something that we didn't know we were actually going to talk about. But it's actually good to talk about. It's okay to pre-screen a game before you play it on stream. Don't like I get you want that first initial shock value, but if it is a brand new game and you've watched no one else play it and you've never like heard of game content before and you don't have a trusted person saying it's a good stream game, at least play a little of it. At least play a little of it, please. Because it could absolutely be horrendous. And I wish I had known that about my Sims.
See, and I think unless it's an established thing like Final Fantasy, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna get in there and there's gonna be this amazing cutscene and it's gonna have pretty solid gameplay and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be an adventure. Pre-screening those games you don't really need to.
Yeah.
But
I
there's
feel
so many more stream games um that are just like these indie games.
yes.
And in
Like
those cases, you definitely should.
I mean, and I can list off like a whole list off the top of my head at this point of games that like we know when updates come out, we don't have to pre-screen them. Fortnite, Disney Dreamlight Valley, Palia. Like these are all games that time and time and time again, their updates are always giving you what you need to be able to stream them. But again, like you said, indie games, a lot of these smaller indie games are not a game that should be streamed. They're like we were talking about with My Sims. My Sims, and this kind of ties into something else we want to talk about. Um you have to do what's best for you. If you're not enjoying your content, your chat is going to be able to tell. Like if you are struggling with a game to the point that it is upsetting you and the way I was getting upset, like I ended my stream early. I had planned for a much longer stream, but I ended my stream early because I was not enjoying myself and chat could tell that. And I was just getting annoyed and I was like, they're getting bored with this. I'm getting bored with this. I'm not creating content for anyone. We got to go. We got to step away.
And the thing is you're going to have that feeling as a streamer. You're going to. There's going to be those
Mm-hmm.
times where things are not going to go well.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's usually tech goes like horribly wrong. And there was one time that happened and I really wanted to just quit and not do any more of it, but I was in the middle of an event with other people
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't quit. And
Mm-hmm.
so you do have to learn how to sometimes fake it.
Yeah.
But there's definitely going to be times it should not be because the game sucks for
Yeah.
streaming purposes. It should never
Yes.
be that reason. And that's why, like I'm going in blind to Subnautica
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow. Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Friday.
Yes.
Whatever day you're listening to this, the 22nd. 22nd of November. I'm going in blind. But that was something that
Yeah.
Jackie and I discussed beforehand. Should I
Yeah.
experience it first? And she's like,
Yeah.
no, I think you'll be okay. There's not a whole lot. Because some games you don't want to, like Helldivers. Helldivers,
Mm-hmm.
you want to actually do the pre-play first because the tutorial is just a part of the game, but it's not really fun to watch. You really want to
There
get
is no
into
tutorial tomorrow.
going into stuff and you really want to, picking the planets and taking on the challenges and stuff like that. And
Nope.
nope.
We're gonna crash land tomorrow and just get off and get going.
And that's the thing. And so I'm doing that with someone that I've worked with many times before. I understand and I
Mm-hmm.
trust Jackie to no end. And so that's a huge part of it too. But there is very
Yeah.
few times I will go into a game blind. I will review it.
Yes.
I will watch a stream or two. I'll lurk on a few different channels. I will
Mm-hmm.
I'll read reviews. I'll go on Steam and just
Mm-hmm.
read reviews. That can sometimes make a huge difference. Is okay, these are the things
Absolutely.
I'm looking for. And when I did New Game Friday, that was something I was doing regularly so that my chat also knew what was going on. Hey, we're going in,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to see these sort of negative things. We'd read one positive review, one negative review.
Yep.
And that way we could see kind of the whole end of the game. And they don't know this, but I pre selected them. I looked over which ones to choose first. But it was so that we could get a real review and not, this game sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But that's such a
And
huge thing of it.
Desert Rose makes a good point too. Taking a BRB to step away from the game can help tremendously. And also just saying, you know what, guys, I don't think this game's gonna happen today. Pivot. Pivoting is okay. Saying we're gonna step into a different game is totally acceptable.
And if
It's
you
fine.
know you're upset, go to something safe. Like
Yep.
for Jackie, a DDV game, or going in Animal Crossing, or depending on her mood, Fortnite. For me, Minecraft is usually my safe game, or
Mm-hmm.
City Skylines, and those kind of games. Fortnite, if I'm really angry, and those that helps you get back into control. That helps you
Yeah.
get back into the mindset that you need in order
Yep.
to be a good entertainer, and that's what you are when you're a streamer. You're an entertainer.
Mm-hmm. Like it's totally fine. What is the wilderness explorers from Up? Always be prepared because you never know what's going to happen. You could buy a game with every intention of going into it and playing it and it being wonderful and fabulous and amazing. And there could be a million glitches and it doesn't work. Or if it's Fortnite, the update might not come out on time and you need to vamp for 2 hours.
Didn't
I
that
have
happen
done
with
that
Disney
before.
Dreamlight Valley? Like they gave a time and then it turned out a different time.
Yes, that happened with the last update. They said noon on their Instagram, but thankfully they had done consistently 9 a.m. Um, every other update, so people were prepared.
Oh yeah.
But Fortnite, the last Fortnite season, back when Chapter 5 Season 2 came out, that was only supposed to be down for a few hours. It was down for 19 hours.
Yeah. And so
So,
you have to. I mean, part of being a streamer is you have to have a certain amount of hours in the game. You have to in streaming you have to do, certain consistent. There's all these metrics that you're trying to meet,
mhm.
and while sometimes you have to cancel stream for reasons of either personal or your AC gets blown out, or now we're dealing with no heater, um,
Mental health. If
mental
you just need a
health.
mental health break, that's okay.
There are reasons to cancel stream. There's absolutely
Mhm.
reasons to. You don't have the
Mhm.
spoons. You don't have the thing. Again, you don't want it to be because your game.
Yes.
That's the
You should
one
love the game you're
thing.
playing.
That's the one thing you should be doing. It's just like don't go game chasing either. If everyone's
Mhm.
playing Breath of the Wild, don't go play Breath of the Wild, go $60 and play Breath of the Wild. Like
Yeah.
such an expensive, trust me, expensive method of streaming.
And I feel like I'm kind of experiencing that right now. Cuz everyone in the cozy realm is playing Fields of Mystria cuz Fields of Mystria just got a new update. And I'm like I should do it. And then I'm like, "Wait, I don't enjoy Stardew." And Fields of Mystria is basically Stardew but with very very hot NPCs. Um And I'm like, well, probably shouldn't spend that money then. Let's not do that. I haven't. I'm not
And
going
and
to.
this kind of goes into that next part. This next part that we wanted to talk about, where we talk about how do you decide these things? How do you decide what is that game? What is that piece? So, Jackie,
Mhm.
what is your process when you're researching a game?
So when I can actually tell you from firsthand experience how I got into Disney Dreamlight Valley. I actually watched another creator that I've looked up to. I actually, ironically, you didn't know this, but I actually started watching him when he first played Subnautica, uh, back when it first came out. So he got Disney Dreamlight Valley, and I was like, cool, I like Disney. So I was like, let me watch him and see. And that was a quick add to cart on that one. But I like watching, I have my group of streamers that I watch and I respect for their reviews and their opinions on games. If they're telling me a game's good, then I'm probably gonna like it. Um, but also when it comes to stream times, um, like your schedule has to work with you. It might not be always the best time on the internet to do it, but you have to do what's best for your schedule. And you have to make the most out of it because ultimately the people should be there for you. We'll get there though. How do you pick your game, Zachward?
So I like to use Twitch actually has a little thing in their system because I
Mm-hmm.
play so many different games. I have to be strategic about it. And so they have this little thing called research that I love looking at. So first off, in research, it gives me a breakdown of like the calendar of
Mm-hmm.
what categories are streaming when. And so it can be really helpful to see. Like right now, if we are looking at Thursday, the just chatting category, and it is 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So 6 o'clock, there's an average viewer of 16 people per channel, um, and there's 2,400 channels in the just chatting section. Now, just chatting
Holy
is a
poop.
super saturated channel, guys. It's
Mm-hmm.
not an easy one to break in. I don't recommend you using this category, um,
Nope.
for the most part. But that is kind of explaining, hey, this is what you can expect. Now we're
Mm-hmm.
probably somewhere on like the 12th page right now, but we're just chatting. So unless podcasting, I think podcasting is a category now. I think we have to use
Well,
podcasting in the future.
we probably should look at that. But anyway.
Oh, anyway, but it also it'll let me look up different games, or I can go into and I can look at past games. So in addition to telling me the metrics for that game, it will also suggest other games that are similar like it. So if I click in Minecraft, you're gonna get some games. Stardew Valley comes up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
few other games that are very similar in that ACHN. Um, uh, no, I did that acronym wrong. Animal Crossing.
ANCH.
Yeah, I know. I mixed it up. No, ACNH.
ACN. Whatever it is. I don't know.
It's okay. We're both dyslexic, apparently.
I'm looking at my own research suggestions right now.
And so you can go in and you can start to tell you like what not only what categories to consider, but also when is the ideal time. Now, Jackie was 100% right. You can't just like go, okay, look at this. Okay, the time when this area is lowest is Fridays from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. So that's when I have to stream. I
Mm-hmm.
can't do that. I can't stream at that time. That's not a good time for me. I'm teaching most
Mm-hmm.
days, at least until 3 or 4. So you do have to, consider your own schedule in that
Mm-hmm.
in that regards, and you have to consider those factors. But
Mm-hmm.
getting an idea of what to expect, you know, doing the Fortnite category can be great because there's going to be a lot of people there. But you're competing against, let's see, we normally do it Friday at 5. We're competing against 8,984 other channels.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you look at the Fortnite category, same time, we're only competing against 1,000 other channels. And what that means is that we're more likely, because Jackie and I are moderately sized streamers, we're more likely to get towards the top of that page. You
Mm-hmm.
might have a few people who are, 1,000 viewers or whatnot, but it's saying on average you should be getting about 5 people per channel.
Yep.
There's 5,000 people looking at that category, and this is how many channels there are.
And I feel like the other thing that kind of goes along with this is, and it's kind of a delicate balance because you don't want to play a game that's oversaturated, because Fortnite is a very oversaturated game. You have to know that there's going to be little growth when you play a game like that because you're competing with really big streamers. But you also cannot play a game that is dead. You do not want to hop into a game that has not very many people watching it just because you're gonna get people like watching you. I guess like that
You know
doesn't
what's
make it.
funny is you say this, but you know what my best experience as a newer streamer was? I
Mm,
played a game. It was called Balloons Tower Defense 6. And I guess there is a cult following for this game. And I didn't know it when
okay.
I was playing it, but it was my new game Friday. And that was
Uh-huh.
the best numbers I had had. And it was like 15 viewers. But if you go and look at Balloons right now, there's like, it's dead. It is what
Yeah.
we would consider dead.
Yeah.
And it was just so funny because I just picked it because it was a free game offered by like Steam or Epic. I don't remember which one. Epic
Hmm.
Games. And so I just picked it for my new game Friday, and it was the hottest numbers I've ever experienced on this dead category.
And like
That's
that's
rare.
bound to happen.
That's
It's
rare.
rare though. Yes. And that's the thing. But like, and I'm saying like, I'm not going to say like a number for sure cuz everyone's what's considered a dead category is different, because even if you look at a game like Disney Dreamlight Valley, which literally just had an update yesterday, there's only 600 people watching it right now on Twitch. But they're competing with games like Paleo, which Paleo just had an update today.
Pretty much
They're,
every cozy game had an update this week.
oh my god, it was a busy week for us. Um, but that's not a dead game. You go into the Disney Dreamlight Valley category, there's constantly people looking for streamers that are playing that game. There's always people looking for streamers that are playing that game. And that's kind of what you have to do some research on too, is like, if I go into this category, although it only has say 500 people watching it, are there still going to be people who are coming in looking for a streamer to watch while they're playing this game? And if the answer is yes, then go for it.
And
Like,
you can go through that in Fortnite, or I'm sorry, not Fortnite, in Twitch's platform. I think YouTube has
mhm,
something similar. It's not as, I don't think it's as clear cut
yeah.
as Twitch's, because Twitch was, it's a game. They have like a game library, like they have all the database for it, so they're just built
Mhm.
for this a little bit better. Um,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I can go and I can scroll it. Phasmophobia, 4.7K viewers.
Yep.
Um, the art category is 8.7K.
Yep.
Brick Builders is 245. Like, some people would argue that some of those are dead categories. My Sims is 263, right? But My Sims just
Mhm.
came out. So you'd
Yeah.
think it has this huge thing, especially nostalgia and stuff like
Yep.
that. But it's not. It's under Stardew and Palia significantly.
You also want to look at how many average channels, like if you're looking for games, again, you should be playing games because you like them, but if you're looking for games that you're going to get discovered under, you got to look at how many average channels are going to be streaming that game as well to kind of see if it's a dead game. Because, like I said, Dreamlight Valley right now only has 600 people watching it, but there's on average an average of 350 Twitch channels streaming at any given point. Same with Palia. There's 205 average channels that are playing that. Like, you have to look for some of the bigger categories. I also like too that they give you where your estimated browse position would be
Hmm.
within that category, which is nice. Like right now, Disney Dreamlight Valley, if I was to go stream it right this second, my average browse position would be 28th, which is, I feel like, 28th out of 350. Not bad. Not bad odds of being discovered.
And that's a huge thing of it, guys. Is you want to think about the discoverability.
Mhm.
Again, you're choosing a game because you love it, not choosing a game
Mhm.
because you'll get famous.
Mhm.
But discoverability is how you bring in new people. I will play games like Minecraft, and I know I'm not bringing anyone new in on that day. Like
Mhm.
I play it because I enjoy it, because I'll get in a fair spot. I'm not gonna be like top of the channels, but
Mhm.
I'm also not going to be at the bottom. I'm gonna be somewhere in the middle, because the average viewers is 6, and my average viewer count is like roughly around 4 or 5. So I'm gonna float to the top a little bit, um,
Mhm.
but it's not going to be. I'm probably not gonna bring anyone new in unless they just totally vibe with me.
Mhm.
Um, right now, some of our big games that are big, like right as we're recording this, Call of Duty Warzone 56K.
Ugh.
Super Mario Party Jamboree 13.2.
Acceptable.
Dead by Daylight is always a huge one, 24.4K.
Ugh.
Other competitive games like Valorant, um, Apex Legends both breach around 20K. Valorant's at 73K. Like
Did World
those
of
are kind
Warcraft
of
just get an
normal.
update?
Did what?
World of Warcraft just get an update?
They did a couple weeks ago.
I was gonna
It's
say
been a
yeah,
little bit.
because that's the second highest channel right now.
Yeah, and Minecraft's at 85K. Like when you go with if you go with the safe ones, there's going to be a lot there, but you're also going to combat with a lot of channels. And that's why they're so big.
Ackward, do you want to know why we're so low in our just chatting category?
Why?
Kaisenet is streaming his Mafiathon day 21 with 144,000 viewers.
Well, there you go.
So
And so
we're
it's a little
competing
bit of a
against him.
game. Like again, you have to think of this as it's for fun, but it's also a business.
Yes.
And that's a huge thing of it is, Planet Crafter has 100 viewers. I could probably float to the top with my regular attending viewers, right? And I could be seen, but I'm only going to be seen by a few select people who are looking for that category, right? Whereas someone looking at, even Black Myth Wukong is still hitting at 1K. That's why we chose Subnautica for the Friday stream, is because we were like, why is it at 1K? And then we did research. Oh, the second one's coming out. Oh, here's the trailer, right? We did research together, in
It's
that way.
still sitting at 1.1K right now.
I saw that earlier. Um, but it's kind of a delicate balance. If we look at,
Hmm.
I'm just gonna pick a random one. Planet Coaster 2. It has 534 people, 3.k followers, which is also something you should consider, because if it
Hmm.
has a lot of followers, they might get notified. So
Yeah.
you're pinging all those people. Then look at the first 5 channels. Okay, 11 viewers, 10 viewers. Oh, this isn't in order. It's not in the right order. It went by recommended for you. Top is
Switch it.
178, 106, 22, 22. I'm not going to get seen in this channel because
No.
everyone is pretty high up there. By the time I get to mine, I'm about halfway down the page
Yep.
where I'm at right now, which is 5 viewers.
Yep.
So that's what you do to the
5
point.
viewers. My
I
size
might
has
like
9.
Planet Coaster too, and that might be my favorite game in the world. I'm not going to play it constantly
You
unless I
have
want to be a
9
Planet
viewers.
Coaster 2 streamer.
You have 9 viewers, sir.
I do. It says
Yeah.
4. Streamlabs is
Twitch is
lying to
lying to
me.
you.
No,
I am
that's Streamlabs.
I'm on your front facing page. I'm on the main
Oh,
screen that says 9.
well, there you go. I would have gotten a little bit higher then.
But yeah. And all this to say,
Jackward.
you can pretty much stream whatever you want as long as it does not go against TOS guidelines.
That's
Twitch has been cracking down on TOS harshly. Know your
sometimes unfairly.
platform. Know your platform you're streaming to as well, because TikTok has very strict TOS guidelines. TikTok does not like you to say Twitch over there. They will pull you from the For You page. It is Purple app. It is YT. Those seem to be safe words. You cannot use the actual Pew Pew name on TikTok.
Jackie is versed in all this, and Jackward is not. Another thing to get that, and this is actually relates to TikTok, is they don't like schedules. I found out they took down my schedule and flagged it as community against community guidelines. So even telling people when you're streaming can be a problematic thing for that platform. And that was something I wasn't versed in. I knew about the other things. I just tend to ignore it.
TikTok sways more PG-13, I guess, is kind of the rating I'm gonna give them. Like, I know a streamer that got flagged as an 18 plus stream because she was talking about bananas, and they took that as potentially adult content because she was building the Peely banana Lego.
No, they probably could have even flagged it because that one comes when it shows intestines too.
Yeah. But then there's streamers that are like, hey, if you send me a galaxy, I'll shake my moo-moos for you, and that's fine.
We didn't say they were consistent.
I mean, I'm considering getting a cow and trying that bit out myself. That was Techno's doing. We had that conversation today. But make sure it's TOS friendly. Again, make sure that your niche still aligns where you want to be at as a streamer. It's okay to change things. You're gonna see a drop in viewership if you change from being one game all the time to different games. That's also okay, because there is such a wide swing in viewership. The never-ending teeter-totter of viewership, that's a whole thing in itself that we won't get into tonight. But bigger than anything, you have to be enjoying what you're doing, because nobody else will. The game you're playing is there to entertain you, and you have to entertain everyone else.
And I think the viewership thing is important for you to understand, is try not to take it personal. If you have someone who's like in your chat every single stream, and then you go to another game, because remember that they are there for their purpose as well. They're there for their personal aspect. And it might be that they don't necessarily mesh with that piece. And it's not any particular thing. I know, Chibi is pretty much in my stream 24/7. If I'm streaming, Chibi's there. But there have been games where Chibi has suggested it to me, and it's great, and I just don't really feel it, and but they are really excited about it, and vice versa. There's games that I really love, and Chibi's like, yeah, I gotta go, and it's not a personal thing or anything. It's just TikTok is a platform to be entertained, and
all the platforms are.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of it. We don't mindlessly scroll because we want to be bored. We want to find dopamine.
You, like I said, you have to be the entertainment to the game that you're playing. And also remember, you're live streaming this game. The people coming out to watch you are taking time out of their day, out of their actual life, to sit there and be there for you. So don't be a butt. Don't be a booty head. Their presence is a present to you. Remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I never a single time expect Jackie to show up to a stream. There's never a single time. There's not a single time that I expect anyone to ever come to a stream. I'm streaming for me, and if Jackie's there, I'm gonna be just as entertaining and just as fun. But we're also gonna have those. Jackie and I have those inside jokes. Chibi and I have those inside jokes, and we're gonna joke about those things too. And you know, I was playing a game and I said Chicken Slayer, and no, like, only person who knew what I was talking about was Chibi, because they've been a part of my channel for so long. And I had to explain the whole lore, how to explain the whole thing. And that's sometimes how you get new people in there, and then new jokes and new pieces.
And TOS guidelines, you want to play games that you like, but remember that the game is there to entertain you.
And do you know that there is a banned game list? These are games that Twitch and
Honey Pop
and other platforms have said no. There's not ever a reason. Never, ever, ever, ever will you get to play this.
cannot be honey popping it up on here.
There was Kronker's Bad Hair Day, I think, is one that's still listed as a no.
Yeah.
But it's not a very long list, but it's very clear. They're very explicit with it. So that's another TOS thing to be aware of.
Yep. But I think that's it. We have our just the tip for the day.
We need a stinger for that. Just the tip.
Just the tip. Do you want to read our just the tip for the day? Or do you want me to?
I'll go ahead. So the just the tip for this week is be your own niche. There is nothing that really defines you. The games you play should help you make you look better. I messed that up.
That's all right.
It's okay.
And if you don't believe in you, believe in the me that believes in you.
And believe in the me who's next to the believe in her that believes in you. Did I just make that awkward?
Maybe.
Oh, well, it's on brand.
So thank y'all so much for listening to another episode of Streamer Talk with Jackward. I can't believe that, one, it's December when you're listening to this, and two, that we made it through episode 3 and that y'all have listened to us 3 times in a row.
More than one person.
I know, whatever drugs they're on, I want some. So I'm the Jack.
I'm the Ward.
That's the Ward. I'm gonna go. I don't got anything funny tonight.
One up, one, ba-dum, bum.
Dang. All right, guys.